Needing my standard fix of the glory days of what anime used to be, I had been extremely curious about an 80s action sci-fi horror title called BAO. I watched the entire film before I even became aware of the fact that it is based on a short 2-volume manga series by none other than Hirohiko Araki, the man most known for this little series called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Yeah, which I will admit is not exactly my cup of tea, but I do appreciate elements of it. BAO is a completely different type of story, although you can see plenty of elements of his particular flavor of JoJo sprinkled throughout it. Released in 1989 and being able to stand side by side the other hyper-violent anime at the time like Devilman or The Guyver, BAO has all of the over-the-top, intense insanity that you could possibly want, and it moves at a breakneck speed with a runtime of only about 50 minutes, which is pretty damn short for a movie, but it has no extra fat on it to bog it down. It just goes for the jugular, and I do mean that literally. Opening right up with a strong action sequence on a train with a secret organization hunting down a girl with psychic powers. In the process, releasing their most dangerous experiment yet, a man that they call BAO. Originally a teenage boy named Ikuro, BAO was abducted and forced to be a subject of these odd experimentations in order to push the boundaries of physical ability and to be utilized as a destructive weapon. And that's about all you need to know. BAO and the psychic girl Samuri escape, and they are on the run from this evil organization that is desperate to get them back, utilizing every soldier and assassin at their disposal, and doing so leads to a variety of chase sequences and battle scenes, and this is where the film thrives. It doesn't try to be anything other than what it is, which is a hyper-stylized anime action film, with all of the best of the aesthetics that the 80s had to offer. Each set piece becomes more elaborate than the last one, and the animation is a spectacle to look at. Whether we're seeing BAO melt a dude's face off, decapitate people, or use any of his acrobatic abilities, there's nothing but plenty of extravagant, overblown violence and gore to give you everything that you could want within its contained madness. BAO himself as a character doesn't get a ton of time to develop. He's clearly a victim, and the main pieces of his characterization come from his own trauma of being experimented on and his desire to protect Samuri. His archetype is also very reminiscent of something like Devilman, or at least it felt so to me, because he has two different forms. He has his human self, Ikuro, and a transformation that awakens his powers of super strength, speed, durability, regeneration, and, melting people's faces off with his bare hands. Also, he can grow blades from his forearms, not that it's really needed with everything else he can do, but hey, it looks cool. The powers come from this worm-like parasite that is implanted within his brain, causing a significant survival reaction whenever his body is in mortal pain or danger. There's a whole sequence where the mad scientist demonstrates this power, implanting one of the worms inside the brain of a dog and having it go up against a tiger. If you don't like animal violence, well, this scene is probably not going to be for you, but the questions I have are, who the hell are these 3 cult members in golden masks that he's showing this display to, and how many of these worms does he actually have on hand? Maybe we aren't meant to know. I guess they were created as some sort of bioengineering, so they're not extraterrestrial or anything like that, but anyways, these parasites are what cause the transformation to happen, and they even take control of the host during these moments, which also gives our lead character BAO a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde feeling as well, slowly learning to assimilate together to become one being. During most of the transform scenes, BAO doesn't talk, and instead he just efficiently takes out all of his enemies. Speaking of his enemies, let's talk about some of them. There is a straight-up Terminator in this movie. Yeah, one of the assassins that kidnapped Samuri, Colonel Dordo, he is revealed to be a cyborg, and it looks 100% like the T-800. I'm not complaining, and Terminator did come out the exact same year the manga debuted in 1984, so this is absolutely not a coincidence. And the main antagonist that is employed by the mad scientist is Walken, who just out of nowhere is suddenly the most badass character that you've ever seen in your life. A last surviving member of a Native American tribe and extremely powerful both physically and as a psychic. Walken is introduced using his bare finger to carve the symbol of his people into his chest. You know, it's kind of like what Shin does in Fist of the North Star, except Walken does it to himself. He then starts throwing energy balls and melting walls, and I don't know what the fuck is going on here, but it looks cool. Bao rips his own arm off in order to keep fighting, Walken keeps powering up and melts a bunch of scientists' faces off, and the whole thing just becomes batshit crazy. It's amazing. There's also a laser cannon. Does there need to be? No. But fuck it. Let's add a laser cannon in.
Bao has a laser cannon!
Bao isn't something you should necessarily think too critically about. Instead, I see it as a perfect example of what this era of anime had to offer in terms of the over-the-top violence and spectacle. And honestly, what little of a story there isn't that bad at all. It's just enough to get you on board with the combat scenes. I mean, does John Wick need to have any more of a story than they killed his dead wife's dog? Bao is about a guy that got abducted, had a worm shoved in his brain, and these evil assassins won't leave him alone. So, there's hell to pay. And in that basic premise, there's tons of bloody glory and vengeance to be had. I love old school anime so much. The 80s and 90s are my favorite era for the entire medium, and Bao had been on my radar for quite a while. And I swear, I had no idea that it was based on a story made by the guy that made JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And even if I'm not the biggest JoJo's fan, Bao is something that if you are a JoJo's kind of person, I think you would definitely enjoy in order to see the seeds of what would eventually evolve into JoJo's. As far as I'm aware, it's not connected, as in it doesn't take place in the same universe, but Bao was featured in a JoJo's video game, so then again, who knows? Anyway, let me know what you think of this movie if you have seen it. Also, hit me up with any other old school anime films that you think I would enjoy. As well, check my anime review playlist because there's a very good chance that I have already reviewed some of your favorites. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. I do appreciate it. Leave all your thoughts, comments, opinions about Bao down below. Let me know what you think about it. And if you want to support the channel on a deeper level, I do have links to my Patreon, channel memberships, and merch store down in the description below, as well as all the various social media links where you can follow me. Other than that, guys, I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time.
He's out of control!